prolific, very experienced entrepreneur, but she's also extremely erudite, very well read, very well credentialed. She is a trustee of the Petroleum Technology Association of Nigeria. She's been running her own business for 35 years. She is the CEO, but she's yet so very modest. She's the CEO of Runadeck Enterprises, and to her credit, she has trained 100,000 Africans on energy skills, all of those soft skills and all of that. So today, I believe she's wearing several caps. She's here as a representative. She's representing herself, the women she's recently, together with Ileana Feber, who will be here very soon, created the Women in Engineering, Energy, and Entrepreneurship. So when we talk about non-profits, she knows a lot about women in energy, non-profits, and all of that. Please join me in welcoming Dr. Ibilo. Our co-chair today is a global professional. She has worked with Shell, with Petronas. She's been at the Hague. She's worked with the big four consulting companies. Was it PwC? And all of that. So she's one of the premier leaders, if I may say, of the innovation ecosystem within the city of Houston. She is a lawyer, but she's also a certified accountant, or what do you call it again? CPA. Please join me in welcoming my good friend, Amy Henry. Next to Amy is a gentleman who is very public spirited. He understands what servant leadership is all about. He says he's retired, but I've never seen someone retired who keeps a busy schedule such as Liverpool. Willie has been there and done that. He speaks 8.5 languages. He's built companies and set up businesses in Africa. He's originally Belgian, but he speaks all of those languages. And I think, Mayor Margaret, that the cities ought not to have really that good. And I think that someday, not too far from now, that he will be given the kind of honor that he deserves for all the work he's done on a pro bono side and even in business in and around the greater Houston region. Please join me in welcoming Mr. And then we have Dr. Maria Capello, the CEO of Rectory Consulting, the chair of the United Nations Economic Commission in Europe, Women in Resource Management. Dr. Capello is Italian, but lived in the country called Venezuela, has worked in Kuwait, and speaks across the globe on the platform of the Society for Petroleum Engineers and the Society for Exploration, just sciences and all that. And so she is very public spirited, understands the spirit of collaboration, and I have the pleasure of introducing to us and welcoming Dr. Maria Angela Capello. Yes, we're going to have something very intimate. So Juliana, we've all met her. Very, honestly. But Juliana is the founder of Energy Tech Nexus. Juliana is an expert on angel capital, on venture development. She ran the Greentown Lab for at least 2 to 3 years, and she continues to travel across the world, teaching and forging relationships in business and within the academia and the energy ecosystem as a whole. Please join me in welcoming Juliana Garza. Thank you. For the introductions at this stage, I would like to ask Amy Henry, our co-chair, to come up to the stage and sit. And then we would love to have Dr. Biola Amal join her as the co-chair for what All right, ladies and gentlemen, please another round of applause for our beautiful hostess. As she has introduced all our heavyweights in the room, our speakers, our keynote speakers, and our special guest of honor. And so you guys know, you good ladies and gentlemen know that we have some real big heavyweights in the room right now. So like I said, it's not about numbers. It's about the depth of what we're doing here and who's here to collaborate and contribute. So thank you so much to some of our speakers already seated, Dr. Amalu and everyone. So I want to now call Mayor Pretend to please join them on our cozy little circle. We're going to try to make this as intimate as possible. Please a round of applause for her. Thank you so much. All right. We have another. Go ahead. Yes, thank you, Lady Seneca. She's one of the most charming ladies you would ever get to meet in the city of Houston. And I think it's important to fill this table. May we please invite Dr. Maria Capello. Thank you so much for that round of applause. And next would be Don James. All right. Round of applause for her, ladies. Thank you. And we have one more seat. You want to feel it? We'll leave it there. Okay. All right. While we're at it, one of the most prolific diaspora professionals in the energy industry walked in. She is Miss Ezinne Nebacha. She's the global head responsible for integrations globally for Schlumberger. Please join me in welcoming Ezinne. And she exemplifies the spirit of collaboration because she's one of the persons I often run to counsel on one aspect of what we're trying to do or the other. So, Ezinne, thank you. I appreciate all the support you've given through the seasons. And now, Ileana Feva, the local content expert. Welcome, Ileana. Having said that, we would love to have the co-chairs give us brief statements before we ask the Mayor Pro Tem to give us the goodwill message. Thank you. You all have you all have microphones on your seats, I believe. Okay. Okay. I'll hand you this one.
Good morning, distinguished ladies and gentlemen. It's a great honor to be here, and I really need to commend Arete on what she's done and the journey she's taking us all on. I'm very pleased to be here. I want each and every one of us here today to come with the thought that we're just a little piece of a jigsaw puzzle, and there is a clear picture of cross-fertilization of ideas, collaboration, cooperation, and coordination of resources. And if we focus on what's been said in the room today, we would put something together that would be way beyond each and every one of us' imagination. I would like us to go away from here with something that is huge, awesome, phenomenal, incredible, something that would endear others who have the common aspiration of energy, power, infrastructure, oil, gas, renewables, Houston being the epicenter of the great things that have happened in the oil and gas industry for generations, and Africa being in a state of energy poverty. We all know that the future generation in Africa, I mean, that we have a huge youth population. We know that gender diversity is a challenge. I would like us to think that wherever we find problems, issues, challenges, pain points, they could easily be converted into success stories, projects, initiatives, profitable ventures. Let's just think about how we're going to put our minds together today, listening into what everybody's saying, and connecting dots and doing things that are way, way, way beyond the imagination we brought into this room. And let's plan to work together, support Arete in her vision, and make something that is way beyond us tangible and exponential. Thank you very much for everybody in the room, because I know we will all be contributing to something that is awesome. Thank you so much for coming.
A round of applause for our co-chair, Dr. Ijuroke Amawe. Thank you so much. And now on to Ms. Amy Henry, also one of our co-chairs and also the co-founder of Unique Ventures, about to say something. And dare I say that, as Dr. Amawa has already said, the theme of this little intimate forum is capacity building and partnerships for women in the energy ecosystem. So as you can tell, we're here to talk about a very, very important topic. So thank you, Ms. Amy. Go ahead, please, a round of applause for Ms. Amy.
I'm going to stay here for the rest of my time. You get everyone to clap. It's great validation. I'm also going to start off for Ari. I've known her probably a little after I started Unique Ventures. Maybe that's around 2017. And it takes a lot of hard work and effort, and people don't realize, all the heavy lifting, all the connecting. It's very surgical to bring various groups of people together in a room like this. So, I do appreciate, your hard work. We've been through many challenges along the way. And I think having the connection for women is important. I started my career not at Shell, but that was in energy. That's where I started. So we focused a lot on women as part of the global diversity team. Why do we lose so many of our technical women or engineers when we, recruit from the best of the best, right? This is a challenge that's been going on for many decades. But I think there's a lot that's happening, which is promising for young women. I'm also part of TIE, so we're a nonprofit. We're a global. We started from how do we create these pathways for future innovators. Part of this is we run TIE women's programs. We run young entrepreneur programs. It's also about how do we, starting much at a younger age. I think we're also now looking at middle school. So how do we get more women and young ladies into STEM programs? And a lot of this now is necessity. So back in my days at Shell, we would say necessity is the mother of innovation. So I think necessity is also creating many opportunities for these young women. And it's how do we be intentional and to drive these dialogues and collaborate. Collaboration is hard, right? I can tell you we do this day in and day out. It really is hard, and we have to do it from a global context. And my co-chair, she's doing wonderful things back in Nigeria with young women and how to get STEM. And so Africa is always, when we talk about global activities, Africa is always that centerpiece for us, right? As one of the kind of continents, because we like to say it's a country, but it's not. At the end of the day, it's energy poverty, and as other parts of the world try to speed ahead and go ahead, how do we focus on energy poverty? Because there's a lot of, you've got a huge young population, you've got a highly educated population, you had a lot of unicorns that have been developed. Probably, in recent discussions, we've run into people who think they've developed some of the best fintech around the world in Africa. So it's, how do we get women and help that next generation of women? Because I've been blessed. I work with female leaders. And how do we actually make impact? So a lot of things have done, but we just don't see the impact, true impact. So I welcome everyone here. I think having this great exchange of ideas and thoughts, because we all come with a different lens and different perspectives. So thank you.
Thank you very much. What is the vision for women in energy? Dr. Mao talked about the deficits and the need for gender inclusivity, gender integration, issues of gender governance, and all of that, especially in and for Africa. Energy, they say, is life. So beyond women getting into the professions or into the different disciplines across the energy business value chain, we have women in Africa who still carry firewood. We have women in Africa who are cooking with firewood and having to inhale all of those fumes. So it's all about, it's beyond women in entrepreneurship, but it's also about sustainable human development. So we have a lot of women in energy related institutions, but many of them are like some startups. There are portfolio nonprofits. For women in energy nonprofits to move the needle forward and accelerate the pace of integrating women and delivering energy equity, energy access, and all of those buzzwords that we like to use, then it stands to reason that we need to help build the capacity of these women in energy nonprofits. Yes, you can have a vision, but what do you do to strengthen it? What do you do to scale up your nonprofits? What do you know about raising funds? Because many nonprofits or even startups or small businesses, like I hear Juliana and Amy say every now and then, they die. There's something you call the valley of death, where there are no resources and things like that. So that is the strategic vision, essentially, because we have all of these Fortune 100 companies that have headquarters in Houston. They have vibrant corporate foundations and all of that. How do we, pool resources and give to the nonprofits so that they can do more of what they need to do? We're not trying to be another nonprofits with a portfolio running around the city or running around African cities. So that's it in a nutshell. And it's a good thing that we're here in Houston, the energy capital of the world. I can't imagine what it means and what it takes to govern a city such as the city of Houston. It's massive. Your budgets, for instance, is bigger than the budgets of several African countries, combined. And so for her, it may be just another assignment. But Honorable Martha, you're here for a purpose, and you're here to hear from the leaders here, so that together, even from the point of view, you can be part of that conversation and you can mainstream many of the things that are being discussed, even into the fabric of your policy design and implementation. And so that's why we're here, and we're glad you're here, and we would love to hear from you. Thank you very much.
Good morning. I'm Martha Castex Tatum, the Mayor Pro Tem City of Houston. Very honored to serve the city that I grew up in. I'm also the council member of District K. I love any opportunity to amplify women in their respective industries. Fun fact, how many women serve on Houston City Council? Take a guess.
5.
Higher. 10. There are 17 members of Houston City Council, including the mayor. There are 10 women that serve on Houston City Council. It's the highest number of women representing the city of Houston in this city's history. When I first joined City Council, there were 5 women. Then the next term there were 10, and then this last term that I ran, there are now 10 women serving on Houston City Council. How many votes does it take to pass anything in the city? If there are 17 members, you need 9 votes. We have 10 women. Let that sink in. So I think it's important in all sectors that we amplify women's voices. One of the things I always like to say to women is, I hope that you would consider running for office. Women just have an innate ability to compromise without compromising their values. They have an innate ability to vote. We may disagree at the table. We may vote differently, but then we can go to brunch. And we can move on. And I think that as our country currently stands, I am always promoting and asking more women to run for office. And I'll just leave it at that because I won't get on my soapbox about that. But I do want to say, as Houston is the energy capital of the world, and as I've had an opportunity to travel to Africa several times, you know, it was really unique in 2022 when I attended the CABEF conference, the Central Africa Business Energy Forum. And, you know, I had some talking points about energy transition and Houston being the energy capital of the world. And there was a participant in the conference that said, you know, before we even talk about energy transition, we have to talk about energy poverty, because we aren't in a space of transition. We are still trying to make sure that Africa, specifically Central Africa, has energy. And that really struck me as we rode around. We were in Cameroon, and I saw real, true energy poverty. And when you come from the energy capital of the world and you see and witness true energy poverty, it changes you. It changes your views on policy making. It changes your views on how important it is to foster relationships across borders and to make sure that we lift each other up. And so I'm very honored to be here today to hear from you and listen to you, because policy making is going to be one of the most important aspects as we all work together to ensure that we are providing the space and the opportunity for all people to have the necessities that they need to live a good quality of life. So thank you for inviting me to be here today, and I look forward to a robust conversation on how we can continue to foster relationships with the city of Houston and Africa.
Well, thank you so much, Mayor Pro Tem Honorable Martha Castex Tatum. I'm so glad that you're here. I just want to let everyone here know that our conversation is being live streamed on the eSocial Mint platform. And so even though we are the ones having the conversation, we have more pairs of eyes and ears listening and watching us right now online. So I would also invite you to be part of that platform. You know, if you want to, the gentleman at the back is the one running it. So before you leave, you can walk over to that desk and see how you can sign up. And it is a social media app that was engineered and generated by him. He is a Nigerian engineer that lives right here in the city of Houston. So thank you so much. eSocial Means, we appreciate you. All right. So women bring a lot of energy, and we want to make sure that our energy is making impact in the energy sector. And so this woman that I'm about to introduce to you is going to give us our keynote presentation today. I'm talking about none other than Dr. Maria Angela Capello. She is the CEO of Red Tree Consulting. She is going to be, thank you, please go ahead and clap for her. Yes, thank you so much. She's going to be talking to us today on a topic that she has titled Built to Last, Forging Resilient, Strong, and Viable Nonprofits to Support Women in Energy Initiatives through Strategic Fund Development, Leadership, and Organizational Development. And there is no better person right here in this room to talk to us about it. Thank you so much, Dr. Cabello.
Well, thanks to you. I put together a deck of slides to provoke a conversation, to share some statistics, and also to provide insights for potentially a deep dive into what is a topic that is common to all of us, the empowerment of women. If I may please have the slides. All right. Okay. All right. Mr. Josh, while Mr. Josh is trying to set up the slides, I will let you know that I created a composite about the recent data about women and specifically about energy. So, let's see. Is waving. Yeah. We'll have some images there. So, yes. Yes. I'll hear this again. Thank you. But downloaded it or not. But in a nutshell, I will take this opportunity while we find the slides that I always say something that perhaps is not usual in this Women Empowerment Forum, but I like to repeat it over and over again. There is nothing wrong with women. We spend all these events about training women, addressing women, workshops for women, network for women, circles, golden circles, new hire circles for women, mentoring for women, coaching, executive coaching for women. Whereas I am now a believer that what we need to do is to train the whole corporate ecosystem so that is, the system and the management in place, generally men that understand a different way of being and leadership. So this is something that I have now the opportunity to share, and in a way, hopefully it will stay with you and you will agree with me. All right, so building capacity and partnerships. I guess that this is not the right screen. We want the slides in full show. You have to share the other screen in your laptop. But I will take the opportunity to just start with raising the awareness about the triple planetary urgency that we have. And, okay. Well, as we all know, there should be somebody expert to just show the main slide. But in any case, the triple planetary crisis is produced by three elements: pollution, biodiversity loss, and climate change. And one way to take a look at that and how that affects us, right, is to have a personal stake of biodiversity loss. And I will now ask you a question. You might remember when you were a little kid and you would go with your parents on field trips or outside into the countryside, you had your windshield full of insects, right? That would just smash into your car. Isn't that right?
Yes.
Does it happen now? So with the insects gone, the birds are gone, and biodiversity decreases. Think about that. I mean, it's a long time. I have not had the experience of having all the windshield, these insects smashing into it. So the first slide, yes, now we can see is that element of the energy and next, exactly. The biodiversity loss is one of the elements that I wanted to just give it a little personal touch, right? There is something going on in the ecosystems, and we are experiencing that by indirect ways of experiencing that. Climate change, I cannot express more what are the geohazards that we experience almost every month, and the pollution that has been one of the topics that affects the energy industry. I think that if we are famous for something, it's about pollution. And instead, we should be famous for something else, which is well-being. And remember that we are not selling gigawatts, we are not selling barrels of oil, we are selling prosperity and well-being. This is our business, right? This is our business. And I will share with you another anecdote at the end to close my slides. Next, please. You will see that there is a variety of countries. I would say 99% of the countries have signed this pledge towards net zero. We recently came out for very valid reasons, I would say, because some countries that are polluting are not necessarily as committed as we are in a global sense, right? So as we are all in this track, let's see next slide, and you will see that there are a series of frameworks that we can follow and that we can research to understand how we reach that net zero. And those are the Sustainability Development Goals, which is measuring the well-being, okay, in 17 ways. Those colorful frameworks are exactly the ways with which we measure sustainability, because it's not an abstract concept. It's a very tangible concept that can be measured. So, in the next slide, I will share with you what are some examples of those frameworks, and anyone working in sustainability would have cranked the numbers to be able to be in the top ones, okay? If you work for Shell, as our co-chair today, in the past, you know all the department efforts for Shell to be ranked very high. But as being part of the energy sector is not necessarily in the top ones, okay? So next one, we will see in the next slide, please, that going from the frameworks to the impact, if I were to summarize my slide, there is one word there, and that is the collaboration across areas. Collaboration. So we cannot do that alone. If I may say so, in energy, we have like a one-way communication style. We say what we do, we say where we are going, we say what we provide, and we listen into the community. And we listen into the other sectors. So these are the questions that I want to leave in the audience so that they trigger perhaps some reflections. Because in energy, we tend to be like in the driving seat, right? But if you are in the driving seat and don't do things right, I mean, where are you going? Whom? The safety, the roads, we may not get there. Next slide, please. So, to finance a variety of actions towards climate action, I want to just portray, these are 5 basic things. And I think all of them relate to the Africa challenges. The first one is creative solution to overcome systematic barriers, okay? Creative solutions. I mean, in Africa, like it happened in Latin America, we went directly to Wi-Fi. And at schools, we were directly from blackboards to iPads in many places. And that is because we didn't have the time to run through all the steps of the technology implementation. The second one is transparency and inclusive planning. Inclusive planning. So that is considering the needs and the aspirations of all. Capacity building, as we know, we want that capacity building with local content, especially in Africa. We have young people, we have talent inside, right? In our African countries. We need to build that talent. And the final two are this alignment of the national goals with cascaded those down to every element of the private and public activities. Finally, the resilience and equity which is needed. And we're going to talk a little bit more about that. Next one, please. So, the financing for climate action, which is the distribution of funds that go towards specific climate action of non-profit organizations in the world, is shown here, coming from the United Nations database and UNDP. As you can see, the green bar is the most important sink of those funds, energy. That is because energy provides well-being, okay? So, as you can see, most of that, even beyond agriculture or water supply and sanitation, climate actions funding goes to energy organizations. And in the world, the sinks that capture that investment, you can see Asia, Americas, South America that is, and in the third place, Africa. Because of the needs and the size of the population, I would have expected this graph to show a big block on Africa first, Asia second, and Latin America third, for many reasons, for the size of the economies, for the size of the population, and for the size of the needs in the region. But this is the situation we have right now. So it's good to know where we are standing. Next one. So for that, I want now to move towards the second half of my presentation, and that is the value of diversity. We are in a group where you are all experts about that and the impact that diversity brings into the working teams, yes, but we want diversity in the decision-making tables more than in the working teams. So next one. This is the progress of Sustainable Development 5, which is related to gender equity. And in the gender equality, the thing is that 1 in every 4 seats in parliament is covered by a woman. That is not the situation at Houston Council, as we heard just now. Congratulations, we are at perfect parity and perfect decision-making processes with diversity, gender diversity there. But that is not the situation in the rest of the world. Only 26% of 105 countries have parity. So next one, let me give you some more data about that. When the United Nations started the human rights conversation, it was immediately after the Second World War, okay? And that was important because it was discovered it was needed to have some sort of declaration. After that, in 48 came the Universal Declaration of Human Rights. And in the 79, it was the first document about discrimination against women. It was not until 1995 that, in a very strange place for this, but in Beijing, China, there was the next document about a declaration for action. In 2010, okay, we had the United Nations Women, an organization fully dedicated to empowering women. And only in 2015, we had a sustainable development quantifiable goal for women equality. So this is the evolution of how women have been handled by what are global policies, which is very interesting because it started in 1945, but only in 2015 is when we have clarity and goals and quantification of where are we standing. Next. So with that, I want to share a slide that I think that we should all know, but not at all times we remember what are the differences between all these terms. And there is inequality when you have a population and an audience, a team, right? And there is this tree that gives fruits, right? And for any reason, it just drops the fruits on one side of the street, right? For example. So only certain people gain access to those. And that is called inequality. When we see and we provide equality, is when we give the same resources to everyone. And we think we are being fair. But we're not being fair. Because look at that little girl in the side of the tree where there are no fruits. So that is, yes, it's equality, but is it effective? No. Then comes equity. What is equity? Oh, I have realized that, some parts need higher stairs or some special accommodation so that they can reach to that fruit. But when we come to justice, a word that our pro-major today mentioned several times, we want energy justice. And what is that justice in terms of gender? Justice is that you now do not need special accommodation, you don't need special stairs, you don't need to go across any barriers to reach the fruits because you will be able to reach those fruits. So, are we looking for equality? Yeah, at the beginning. Are we looking for equity? Yes, it depends. What we're looking for is justice. Right? So this is a slide that I love because it helps me convey a message that is difficult and it's very abstract at many times. Next. So in this slide now, I want to smash you with the data. This is the 2025 report of McKinsey and Leaning organization about what is the situation of women in the workplace, at all workplaces. And this year, they have found a wonderful visual way to represent where are the women. First of all, you know that we women are always associated with pink, red, orange colors, and men with blue. Okay, fortunately this time they are gray. Yeah. I'm proud. But the thing is that if you see in the left side and the right side, the first thing you notice is that women are not the majority in any of the work scales. You see, you start as a professional, as a new hire in the bottom, then you are promoted to manager, to director, to vice president, to senior vice president, and to chief something, chief financial officer, chief human resources, COO, and CEO. So when you go, there are two observations here. When you go up, and these are percentages, right? The left side looks blocky, okay? The right side looks like a funnel, which is smaller at the top. So the question is why, right? But we need to know this is data. This is hard data, okay? And not only that, but if you see the composition of those red colors, the light colors, who by my accent you already know, I am a Latina, right? So the Latina is that very light pink color, and we are used until we are very few at the C-suite, okay? And where are, let's see, the black women? You are with us, with the Latinas. And we both, when we go up, because you have fought more openly for what is justice, equity, and equality. I must say that I know many Latinos that would take English pronunciation classes not to showcase their identity and have a better chance at what they consider is the promotion workforce. Okay? I should better engage in those courses, I guess. Next one. So, if we have to summarize what happens with the female pipeline, what that means is that it will take 22 years for white women to reach parity and only 48 years for women of color to reach parity. Do we have time for that? No. That is for our daughters and granddaughters. We want that today. So, next slide. In the next slide is my compelling message that the progress must start early. And it starts when you buy a Lego toy for your children, for your girls, about dinosaurs, about technology, for STEM careers. We need more women in STEM careers. I never get tired of that. We need women in STEM careers. We need researchers. We need Dr. X and Dr. Y to have their say in every single sector of knowledge. This is what we want. So it has to start early. We want more women with patents, inventors. We want computer programmers. Next one. So, if we are only 25 people in the C-suite overall, as we saw, right? What happens in sustainability? And sustainability is close to my heart and to energy, right? So I want to show you what is going on in sustainability. Next one. So what are the roles I am talking about in sustainability? The first problem is there is not a single role for that. We have all names in the world. It could be an ESG manager. It could be a climate leader. It could be a sustainability director. And now that the very word sustainability has been kind of banned, we are now engaging in a new narrative where we are hazards control director or perhaps environmental safety manager, compliance ecosystems vice president, and we are becoming very, very creative, right, Juliana? So in the next slide, you will see the prevailing fields of study that I research, looking at databases that include LinkedIn, okay, about where do they come from, these sustainability leaders. And I thought I would find geoscientists like me, petroleum engineers like many of you, but I was surprised that, on the contrary, there are all kinds of fields of science and social sciences. So, as you can see in the slide. Next one. In the next one, I was asking myself, and where is this talent being hired? Where is the talent? Where? Tell me where. And I was so happy that to see, it's a pity that our Major went away because I wanted her so much to see this slide. The number one city in the US that is hiring talent for sustainability is Houston. Second one's Washington, New York, Boston, and Los Angeles. And in the world, Houston ranks very high still, even if the trend is declining. Houston is the first, then London, Washington, and Calgary. So, next one. What is the gender situation? So with that, what I mean is, where are women in this picture? In the US, I was surprised to see by data from March 2025 from LinkedIn that the manager level in sustainability in the US is 39% women, which is a very high number. But amazingly, the director's suite reached parity, 49%. Okay? And in the global situation, let's say. For the manager level, we had majority of women in those roles, 63 in the manager role. And in the C-suite, remember those high-level senior vice president, 45%, almost parity. Wow! In sustainability, this is a change. This does not happen in other careers or roles. So I deep dive further to find out, well, how is the career of these people? Next one. And if any one of you would ask me, I was anticipating your question, what kind of career and career path should I pursue to become those C-suite we all want? So I brought you 2 examples, actually 4. Next one. These have been anonymized, but you may recognize them. They are all females. And to the left, we have the case of an executive vice president of sustainability and communications in a service company, Offshore. And she studied communications, organizational communications. So what she did is that she started as a senior attorney. Okay, she engaged in law schools and others, and then she became the executive vice president compliance, people and sustainability, and finally became the executive vice president of sustainability with a global capacity, by the way. In the right side, another person with a global capacity. She's from a service company, a very known one, not the blue ones. She went all the way up to become the chief sustainability officer, and she's a geologist. Yes, she's a geologist, and she started in an international oil company, okay, as an intern, but then this very strange appointment for 5 years and 9 months as a staff at the National Senate Committee of Energy, the US. And after that, she became an energy scholar in Georgetown, in a university for 6 years. And she came back to the energy industry for 3 years, and then in the professional association, and is now a CSO. Next one. Again, we see here North America to the left. These are very local country examples. In the left, there is a person who studied what? Political sciences. And to the right, business. But they both went all the way up in sustainability. So, next one. This is a summary of what are my insights. I am now preparing an article with this because I want to highlight that the base could be practically any base. The important element is the exposure. If you have the opportunity to talk to the outside world, the outside stakeholders, you will be able to advance more rapidly and be considered for these sustainability goals. What do we learn from this? Now that we are going to energy expansion, we need to be more creative in the promotion of our executives and take them from oil and gas and not be afraid of let them lead the renewables, because we do have the talent. Next one. We are finalizing, and this is my contact details. Thank you very much.
Ladies and gentlemen, wow, what a detailed and very informative presentation. Thank you so much, Dr. Capello. We really appreciate you. And please, yes, another round of applause for her. And I'm sure this presentation is online somewhere so that, if we have to refer people to the presentation, but please don't unscramble it. You'll have bigger stages where this presentation will be needed.
Yes, it will be published, but for the moment, this is first preview.
Okay. Yes. Thank you so much. Ladies and gentlemen, another round of applause for Dr. Capello. And thank you. And so I would like to take this brief opportunity to recognize some
special guests in the room that have just recently joined us. Also, before I do that, I want to let you know we do have refreshments in the back. There's coffee and some snacks, so please help yourself. And so I would also like to recognize a couple of people that have walked into the room since we started, in the persons of Mrs. Olubukoala Awosanya. She is the Executive Director, Specialized Business at Premium Trust Bank. Thank you so much for being here. We also have Dr. Tracy, I hope it's a doctor, Tracy L. Jackson. She is from WeIP International Services. Thank you so much for being here. And last but not the least, we also have Mervyn Azita. She is a Global Flex Work Manager for SLB, and that was Lumberjay Global. All right, so right now we are going to have an award ceremony in this forum, but we are going to do our very first award presentation right now, and we will do the rest, as we proceed. And so it gives me a great honor and privilege to invite to our little cozy fireside right here the individuals that are going to help us to present this award. We are going to be inviting the only gentleman that we have in our midst, the king of the ladies, Mr. Willie Obuge. Please show some love to him. He is the chair of the World Chamber of Commerce in Texas. Thank you so much, sir, for being here. We're also going to invite our representative. Oh, well, this is our technical. He doesn't count. We are going to also invite a representation from the Petroleum Technology Association of Nigeria, a woman that I personally admire and respect, none other than one of our co-chairs, Dr. Ibilola Amawo. Please, round of applause for her. So much. And also, I want to invite Amy Henry. She is the owner of Venture and Economic Development Award, right here, another co-chair of the Wind Energy Innovations. Thank you, Ms. Amy.